Okay, we're now going to look at the calf exercises, predominantly given to patients with ankle injuries or Achilles problems and so on and so forth, but very important to work your calves even if you've had a knee problem. So if I've explained that we're going to do calf work, these would be the exercises we do. Now, this machine is a lying down leg press, but the majority of leg press machines in the gym are usually seated. So we're going to adapt this machine with me sitting up like this to show how it will look for you if you're using a seated machine. We put the feet to the bottom of the foot plate here. Now the important thing here is not to just put the tiptoes on like this, because you're very vulnerable of slipping off, and also we want you to push very much with the big toe joint, which is right here. So although we say push up on your toes, we mean push up on the ball of the foot. So you can see that the heel is protruding below the foot plate. Obviously my knees are above my feet now, but we're not doing an exercise in this position that's going to involve bending and straightening the knee, so it doesn't stress the knee at all. I'm going to push out from this position to a fully straight knee. So the knees are locked out straight. I'm then going to drop my heels back into this position. We then push up using both feet in a fully straight knee. So the knee hasn't changed. We're up on tiptoes now. We now take one foot off, and the other foot should remain where it is in a tiptoe position. And then we now, keeping the knee straight, want a very, very slow lowering down of the heel. Now this lowering down phase is known as the eccentric phase, and this is the type of manoeuvre that is very, very beneficial for improvement of tendon quality. The human being as well is also a lot stronger in the eccentric phase than we are in the opposite phase, the pushing up phase, which we know as the concentric phase. So this concentric phase we do through both sides, like so, to get the highest achievable position of plantar flexion or toe pointing. Then take the other foot off, and then we lower down through the one side and allow that heel to go right back as if you were hanging off the edge of a step. But doing the exercise like this on the leg press gives you much more control than doing it with your full body weight on a step. I usually sustain this position for a little while because it gives you a really deep stretch of your calf complex and your Achilles tendon and the other tendons that operate the toes. I'm also actively pulling the toes towards me in the shoe. So I'm pulling this forwards towards me to get that extra little bit of stretch from the exercise. So the exercise looks like this. We use both sides to go up, take one off, hold the position, and then lower down. Now a lightweight, as I'm doing here, you may feel, well, what's the point of doing it with both? Because I can actually push up with one. But the principle of this exercise is we need eventually to get you up around your body weight or even greater to do this exercise well. So to do that well, we need then to have both sides to facilitate the pushing up part of the manoeuvre, and then with a real struggle at higher weights we'll try and hold on to that position and lower down very slowly, developing that extra eccentric strength. Now sometimes you see people go up on two, and as soon as the other foot comes off, if I take my right one off, the left one starts to drop. Now that's showing a real lack of control, and that may be that the weight you're doing is too high. You really do want to see that you've got the capability to hold on that left side as you take the right one off, and then in your time, when you're ready, reduce the heel down to that lower position. Now if we're dealing with an Achilles tendinopathy, where the problem is in the structure of the Achilles, then we allow the heels to drop all the way. If you've been told you've got a bursal problem, and a bursa is like a fluid-filled sac under the Achilles, then you would only lower down till the foot goes to a plantar or straight position. You wouldn't want the heel to go back beyond, because that would irritate the bursa. So that's something that I'll probably have pointed out to you at the time we're treating you. The second exercise of the calf group that we'll give you is an exercise that targets more the Achilles tendon itself and the soleus. The previous exercise we did with the knees fully extended. This knee exercise we do here is always with the knee kept in a bent position. So again, we're using this machine which is normally designed to be used in a lying position, but we're adapting it for the purpose that this is how you're probably going to find your machine in the gym. My start position is with an angle of about 60 degrees at the knee. My heel is as low as it can possibly be here. So in this position now, I've got a very definite stretch of my Achilles tendon, very low down to the back of the ankle, which is something that I want to feel. Now I'm going to push up from the foot without changing this angle here. Now this is a bit like patting your head and rubbing your tummy. You're trying to do two different things at the same time. So I'm going to put my hands around my knee in this way to focus my attention to the fact that I don't want this knee to change if I can help it. And I'm very slowly going to point the toes like so. Now at that point there, if I try and go any further with the foot, the knee is going to start to straighten in this position, which is something I want to avoid. So that is the limit of the movement for me. Now keeping the knee as in the same position to bend, I'm now going to lower down from the heel. So we're really focusing the movement now down here, and we're trying to keep this independent but in a bent position. So the exercise needs to be very slow and deliberate in this way. Any forceful movements quickly involve you straightening the knee. So to keep the knee out of the equation, we want to keep that slow, controlled, protracted movement, especially on the eccentric phase as we lower down there. Now because this is a loaded position with the knee bent, I'll have probably mentioned already that we would only do small numbers of repetitions before we change. So 5 repetitions is usually a maximum, because this can get quite achy through the thigh, which is an understandable response. So if I change over now to my right side, drop the left one out of the way, keep the knee in the flex position, focus the hands around the knee, and then I'm pushing out in this way. Now it's very easy to cheat unwittingly at this exercise and believe that you're doing it well, and if you're very weak, what can happen is the body will compensate for a lack of strength down at the ankle by lifting the hip. So it looks like we're doing the exercise in this way, but the weights here aren't moving. Now if the weights are not moving up and down, as in this case, then the exercise is not being done correctly. And what I was doing to cheat was I was pivoting at the foot and I'm lifting the hip. So this part of my thigh is lifting. And often people initiate the exercise properly, and then as they get to the weak point in their range, they then cheat for the last bit. So it's just being aware that you are working all the time, and throughout the full range of the movement, the weights move up as you point the toes, and as you lower the heel, the weights move down. Now this is a prone ball squat. Prone is a position where you're lying on your front. So because I've got the ball in front of me and I'm crushing the ball in my front, we call it a prone ball squat. I may have given you this exercise when we've met for an Achilles problem, or to mobilise an ankle, or again for a knee. We're going to show you the double leg version first. And the side view is very, very important. You want to be able to see that the orientation of my body from the ankle is that the heel is fully flat on the floor, my knees are fully straight, and my body is a straight line, as if I was an ironing board just leaning against the door. We don't want me hips pushed out like this, or arching back off the ball like this. You want this straight position, almost like an Eddie the Eagle ski jumping position, where these guys jump off those horrible ski jumps. So it's that sort of orientation that we're looking for. And as we do the exercise, it's important to keep that alignment of the body and not roll back into this position or flex over the ball like so. So hopefully I'll make that evident as we do the exercise. Now, the knees are straight at the moment and the heels are very definitely firmly back on the floor, and that means I've got a very significant calf stretch. So that sensation of a stretch in the calf tells you that you're in the right place. If I was here, there's no stretch in the calf to get the heels to the floor. If I'm back here, I can't get my heels back on the floor because I've gone too far. So to come to here, I can now feel that, yep, the heels are on the floor, but that's quite a nasty stretch through that calf muscle. The big tendency here is because the calves are in a tight position, the body will try and release that tightness by allowing the heels to slide in. We'll show this from another angle in a moment, but we want to always feel that we're pushing the heels away from one another, so that the sides of my shoes are parallel to the sides of the room here. Now the exercise starts by me crushing the ball again. So any of these ball exercises we do, your safety comes from you really compressing the ball against the wall. Now if you're unsure of your safety, you could put your fingers on the wall like this as a guide, or you could rest them on the ball. I prefer to keep them off the ball completely, and then as I bend my knees and go into the squat, you'll see my heels will lift from the floor. So we're going down, but the orientation of my upper body here stays the same in relation to the ball. Now I go down to the shins are about parallel to the floor. And then as I push back up, the legs go straight and the heels go back to the floor. So again, all the time, it's sometimes difficult to perceive this from the video, but what I'm doing here is I'm really pushing hard from the balls of my feet forwards into the wall, and that pressure is what keeps the ball in its correct alignment and keeps the ball from slipping and makes me feel safe. Again, as you can imagine, the floor surface is really important here. Safety must always be paramount. You must always have a good grip, good purchase between the sole of your trainer and the floor. A lot of the gym studios have got a lot of dust in them because people wear outdoor shoes and stuff like that, so be careful. Wipe the floor with a damp cloth and then let it dry, and then usually it will have a good sort of friction to it to allow you to do the exercise well. So we go down like so. Now the single leg version of the exercise is similar to that we did with the double leg squat when we moved on to the single leg squat. I now move over to the side that I want to work. I've got the foot again in the same position, my heels back on the floor and my knees straight. But now this is a much more difficult exercise, and the degree of bend that we can achieve will be a lot less. So I'm going to hold the ball here for stability, and now I'm going to bend my knee, and as soon as I bend my knee you'll see my heel is now lifting and the weight is rolling over the ball of the foot. And that now is as far as I can go because I'm very tight in that area there around the Achilles. Now, this is a great exercise for stretching an Achilles under load or mobilising an ankle. And the push-up phase is the knee straightens and the heel goes back to the ground. So as we bend the knee, the heel lifts and the foot rolls over the ball of the foot as the knee flexes. And that's the limit for me. I can't go any lower than that. And then I push up and straighten in that way. Fully straight knee, heel back to the floor. And this should be done really slow and controlled, very deliberate, so you're feeling the movement as you go through it to there. Now looking from this angle, we're going to see whether my heels deviate inwards as I suggested shouldn't happen. So the double leg squat here, knees fully straight, heels back on the floor, my body pushing the ball into the wall, and as I squat down, I'm thinking of keeping those heels and knees apart as I go down to my parallel position, there, and back. So again, if you come back upright and you feel that this has happened, just reorientate the feet so that the sides of the shoes are parallel to the sides of the wall, and then as you go down, think about pushing the heels apart and keeping the knees parallel with the feet, not allowing the knees to deviate inwards like this. Keep those apart as you push back up as well. The single leg exercise showed me shift my body weight over to the side that I want to work. So I've kept the foot in the same position, I've just moved my body over to the right. The heel is on the floor, as you can see, the knee is fully straight, and again push the heel out as we flex that knee and the heel lifts. There. You can see probably that I'm shaking there because that's a tough exercise to do. And then to push back, fully straightening the knee and getting the heel again back to the floor. And as we said, to know you're in the right place, when you're back in that straight leg position with the heel back on the floor, you should have a significant stretch of your calf. If I'm going to go over to the left side now, you'll see me keep the left foot as it is, move my body over to the left. The pressure on the ball is now through the right side. Here, I'm holding onto the ball, heel back, knee straight, and then we flex and roll up over the foot. And again, shaking there because it's a tough position and pushing the heel back. This does put a lot of pressure through the front of the knee, so I will have probably mentioned that we keep the number of repetitions down to a minimum. This is a nice adaptation of the use of a leg press machine to produce a manoeuvre which is very functional for pushing off. If I come to the ground here, if I'm going to run, I'm going to be in this position and my driving leg is going to be this right leg, and I'm going to be in this position and push in this way, which is a fully extended knee and a pointing of the toes. Now, again, we've mentioned already that this machine in your gym may very well have a back on it and have a proper seat. If it does do, just hold on to the seat, put your chest against it, and then you place one foot on the foot plate, as in this position here. The other knee rests on the bed of the machine, and then from this position, I'll hold my body as if I was leaning against the back of the seat, and then you can now drive the knee fully straight and point the toes. And again, this is done in a real powerful way, but the return movement, where the knee bends and the heel returns towards the foot plate, is done with control, and then the forward pressing movement is done powerfully. So you should see here that my knee is fully extended, my calf is fully pointed, and the hip is also in extension. And this is the mechanism of driving off to run or to jump. So we're getting the hamstrings working as a hip extender with the glute, we're getting the quads extending the knee, and we're getting the calf, gastrocnemius complex, pointing the toes. So what we call triple extension.